morning. So, Robert and I were joking this morning. Am I not on? That's not going to help very much. I'm on. No? Okay, we can trade this one back and forth. We'll just use this. That'll be just fine. So we were having this conversation this morning that we keep saying this is not a normal Sunday. If you've been here for a month, we keep saying that. I think we might be weird. I think we just might be a weird church. We keep having weird Sundays. We might just be weird. That's okay. So this is not going to be a typical Sunday. We're going to have a lot of people sharing about various ministries and mission opportunities that they've been a part of over this summer. And I think it's going to be a real blessing for us. But the first person who's going to share that is Kinsey, and she got to do a unique experience where we talked, it's been 3 weeks ago, longer maybe, where we talked about Infuge, and we had a group talk about that. She did Infuge, but she did it a little bit differently. So first, I just want you to explain the difference between what you did and what everybody else did, and what you also did with us the first week that you actually did just regular Infuge.
First of all, you didn't add that second part to my thing, so
Yeah,
I get to ramble. So the first week that I went with them, we went to Louisville, Kentucky, and we got to help out this mission group, and it was a very unique experience for us. That was something we haven't done in the past. We had done a lot of kids ministry and going to parks and just getting to talk with people one-on-one. Here we got to organize and get to see this house. It was very interesting, but they've already talked about it, so I'm not going to ramble too much about it. I'm calming it down. So my program that I did is called SLA. It is also with Fuge, so there's two sides to Fuge. Student Leadership Apprentice. So Fuge has two sides of camp. The side that our youth group does is Infuge, which is basically based on missions. So you go out and serve that local community. And the other side of that is CFuge, and that stands for Centrifuge. And this is a side that I had never got to see before because Chris does not take us to this one, but that's okay. Sorry, Chris. This is basically where you're going to go play a bunch of games and do trust initiatives, but once you're finished playing those games, you're going to wrap everything back up to the gospel. So there was a trust initiative where we stood on this like wooden thing, and you crossed your arms, and you fell backwards into a random group of people. For me, I did it. That was very scary. I fell into a random group of people. I was with a group from, I think, Louisville, actually, to be exact. Never had met these kids, hadn't talked to them at camp because it was the first day that I was there. And I kind of just had to fall, and that's very scary. But that led us back to talking about how sometimes our walk with God is very scary, but we have to put trust into Him and put trust into the fellowship that we have within the church as well. So that was just a cool little wrap-up that we got to see with just that. But we're going to actually get to what the SLA program is. So there's 4 locations located around the United States. The locations are changing this year, but I won't talk about that. It's designed, I'm going to read my paper now. It's designed to help you become a staffer. So you shadow a staffer the second week of the program. And the first week you're learning leadership skills and seeing both sides of the Fuge camps. You also learn all the materials of the camp so that you can help lead. So I'm going to hand this back to you.
So I'm up here to ask questions because Kinsey would be happy to tell you a lot about what she did this summer. But I'm helping because, we share this difficulty. Sometimes we talk too much. So I'm here as her moral support because I sympathize and struggle with the same thing. So there's so much to share. Feel free to ask her. Josh said she didn't run out of things to say for 3 hours. So for a 3-hour car ride, if you want to know more, I promise you Kinsey would be happy to share more than you want to know. What were some of your concerns going into this? Because you signed up pretty readily, but what were some of your concerns or maybe some nerves ahead of this experience?
So first of all, I flew to Fort Worth, Texas. Last time's experience was not as great as this time, for those who know about that experience. Also, I had never flown on an airplane by myself. I have been on an airplane twice, and that was with my dad, and we flew to DC, and I do not like heights. So I was pretty scared about the airplane, and how am I going to get through this airport? That was very scary. Let me tell you, at 5 o'clock when my dad dropped me off in that morning, it was rough. But also, this program, I signed up, I got an acceptance, and they basically said, tell me your flight, and we'll see you here, and these are your dates. No information at all. I didn't even know if I was getting picked up from the airport or if I needed family friends to come pick me up. So that was a little stressful. I could also not get them to email me back if they got my payment. I was like, oh crap, maybe I don't have everything in. Maybe I'm gonna forget something. I didn't, it was fine. I got all my money paid for and everything like that. My SLA lead, the person who's in charge of all the SLAs because you're with a group of them, she had called me and said, hopefully I make friends. I'm a very anxious person. I like people, so not making friends would really stress me out. So one of my what ifs is, what if I don't make friends? What if I'm the only SLA there? What if my staffer doesn't like me? What if we don't get along? And we're back to the airport again. What if my plane goes down? What if I die? It went nuts. My brain was going crazy. And it was just a new experience for me because I like scheduling, and I did not get an agenda for the day or any of that. So that was very stressful for me.
What did I say to you when you messaged some of these concerns to me? Do you remember? I said, would God call you to something and then abandon you to it? No. Yeah, that is what I said. Super helpful, I'm sure. It made you feel much better. So what were your actual responsibilities while you were in your SLA week, the second week? Because the first week you were a camper getting to know your other SLA people. And so what was that? What were your actual responsibilities when you were officially on duty that second week?
So my responsibilities looked a little bit different than what another SLAs would look like, just to what my Bible study was like. Our group, we had a little girl who had Down syndrome, and she was placed specifically into our group. And sometimes their brains don't work like ours, as we know. So she struggled to go away from mom. So my staffer, her name was Morgan, she would go with our girl and try to get her to the classroom and to get her to participate, because we also want mom to experience the same thing that they should be experiencing as an adult, and we want her to experience everything as well. So I was basically in charge of getting my Bible study, all of my 18 kids, to a classroom, and then I had to make sure that they started their quiet time, and I started the Bible study. And then when Morgan got there, I was able to hand off the Bible study to her. This was a little bit difficult because my group was made of middle schoolers. Middle school boys, they're not easy to deal with, especially if they want to just chat with you. And I'm like, I'd love to chat with you, but I need you to do your quiet time right now, please. But it worked out okay. It was very cool to see. I also got to talk about our missions moments and help out during the Bible study a lot. So there was one particular time where they would turn the lights off, and a camper would stand with a flashlight in front of a board, and then you're doing these weird little hand things, what are those? Yes, shadow puppets. I had to do those. I'm not good at those. So my poor campers were trying to guess what I'm making, and it wasn't going well. I'm gonna read my paper to make sure I get everything. Yeah, that's basically it. I answered questions and gave them my advice and my thoughts on the questions as well if they wanted to know. I got to share my testimony with them and give them the advice to going out and share, because we did the MFuge side of it with my Bible study. And so we had to learn the ways of how to share the gospel, and that can be very difficult, so I was able to help share some tips with them as well.
So the staffers are largely students or recently graduated college students, so having an opportunity to learn on the job and kind of intern, definitely pretty cool to be able to just jump in and be partway in that. And so having been able to do both of those things. Now I'm going to turn this one over. She has a lot more writing on this page, so she's almost done, but you may have to stick to the script on this one. No, if you need to go off, how did you see God work over the time that you were there for 2 weeks? You can go off script on this one, that's okay.
Well, I've gone off script on all of them, so I will stick to script for this one. Because there is a lot, and there is so much more I could talk about for this one. But as I had previously said, one of my campers had Down syndrome, and so it made it very challenging for us to share and get her to participate in lessons like other students were. So we prayed for her all week long, just so that she could also be part of the ministry and see the same things. And on Mega Relay, love Mega Relay. If you don't know what Mega Relay is, go find a Fuge kid. They can tell you. But at the very end, they're getting ready to announce who won it. And she ran up to Morgan and I and gave us the biggest hug.
Oh, we have to demonstrate this.
We do. And said, God loves you. I was like, oh my gosh. She hugged me, guys. It was the best feeling ever. Morgan and I started crying, but that's okay. She hadn't said anything to me all week, and she said like 2 words to Morgan, and then she ran up and hugged us. It was a wonderful feeling. So, moving on. On the last day, during our closing celebration, they have this bell where if you've been saved during the week of Fuge, you are able to go up and ring it. And one of my campers got saved. We were so excited. We didn't actually know that she got saved. It was a little weird. We got to talk to her and tell her like our testimonies, and she asked some really good questions, and so we like told our leaders about it. And then she walked up on the stage, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is actually so crazy. Come to find out, it happened late that night before, so they wouldn't have seen us anyways. But yeah, Morgan and I both were able to have conversations with her, and we got to share our testimonies, and it was just great. We also got to share our testimonies with a bunch of other students. So yeah, we were also placed at a park for our site, and it was very hot in Texas that week. Luckily, we had a splash pad at our park, but who's going to be at a park when it is 98 degrees outside? Probably nobody. So that was kind of our thinking when we went into it, and so we were like, okay, wait, we got to change up the mindset. And when we get there, no one's there. And we're like, oh, okay, great. So we were like, okay, we're going to pray over the park and just try to make the time pass. And if someone shows up, we'll be there. And within 5 minutes of us doing our prayer walk, people were showing up. It was like big families, like my family size was showing up. I was like, dang, all 6 of you are walking out here. That's actually nuts. So why are you guys laughing at me? I'm like, okay. So a lot of my kids were able to have a lot of gospel conversations, which I was very excited about, and some of them were so excited. They would come up to us at the end of site and be like, guys, did you hear about this? I got to have this conversation, and the biggest smile was just on my face during that time. One of the days, it happened to start raining, and we all were able to go under a pavilion because it was lightning, and so we didn't have to leave, but we did have to go underneath something. And during that time, we were able to gather up everybody that was at the park at that time, and one of my campers was able to lead a Bible study, which so brave of her, and I honestly don't know if I could have been able to do that. She had like 5 minutes to prepare, and she gave an amazing Bible study. And all these little kids on the ground were asking questions, and she just got to answer them, and then like a bunch of our other leaders were able to help answer. It was just truly amazing to see the little kids interact, but also the way how she got to grow during that experience. Okay, we're gonna keep moving along. I have like 3 sentences left. Also, when you're in Texas, sometimes you don't always speak the same language as other people, and we experienced this a lot. A lot of our parents speak Spanish, and sometimes that made it very hard, and a lot of the kids did as well. So we may have not been able to have a gospel conversation with them just because the language barrier and all that, but we were able to just go love on the adults and love on the kids. We had popsicles every day for the kids. There was a splash pad, and we were able to just go play with them. I have a picture of me actually with a little boy. He loved bubbles. And so I'm like sitting on the ground, and I had the bubbles, and he's just like blowing them, and he just kept giggling and laughing. And it was just the sweetest thing ever. And that was probably one of my biggest highlights. I just got to see that little boy, like, his face light up. It was just amazing. Okay, that was my last sentence. So, yeah, if you guys want to hear more, I can continue to talk, but Chris is going to take the microphone away from me. So you guys can come find me after, even though I kind of have to skedaddle, but that's okay. And if you want to see pictures, I have pictures. Or you can go look at the Fuge Swebbits page. So, yeah.
Also, if you are JV or varsity, and this is something, yes, you can say. If you are interested in participating, let me know. Talk to Kenzie. She can tell you more about it. It's definitely something that is one of those opportunities. If you are feeling unsure about what kind of calling you have, but you feel like I am called to some kind of ministry, it is a great way for you to just kind of figure out what that looks like and spend a couple of weeks with some crazy kids doing some fun things and having an opportunity to pour into them and share the gospel. All right. I believe, Jenica, you are next. I'm not going to stand here and monitor you, though.
You're making me start? Okay. Hi, my name's Carson. Hi, Carson. Hi, Mason. The 21st through 23rd, can't remember exactly how long it was, like a week and a half ago, we all went to FCA camp. Now, if you haven't heard of FCA, if you're new, if you just don't know what it is, FCA is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. However, in our high schools, them in PH, B, and RP, you don't have to be an athlete, and you don't have to be a Christian. We just want to go reach out the gospel and share the gospel message. So this was FCA Leadership Camp. It, was a 3-day camp, really influential, and, we're here to tell you about it. So, Mason, start us off.
All right, so for me, this has been, I've been going to FCA camp for 3 years now, and this has been my favorite year so far. Well, it's also my last year, so, unless if I go back as a counselor. But anyway, I think that's mainly due to a couple unique experiences that I hadn't had before. So every night, we all go to the worship center, and we have our praise and worship time. And over the past couple of years, I've seen people like huddled together or kneeling at the altar, just praying for each other and supporting each other. And obviously, like, I pray for them in that moment, but I haven't actually been a part of that technically yet, until this time. And so it was the second day night worship, and me, Carson, this guy named Chandler, and this kid named Owen, those are all the people that I know. There were some other people there, but I didn't know them, and I only knew Chandler and Owen after I had talked to them. And so we all, during a couple, like almost 3 songs long, we were all just huddled together, praying for each other, and just kind of pouring out our hearts to God. And I'm really glad that I got to be a part of that, and it was amazing. And I hope that other people in the future, I don't know how those people have more years left. I hope that they can experience something similar.
Hi, I'm Carly. I've been to FCA at camp 3 years. I thought this experience was amazing, and I had a great huddle leader and great huddle mates, I guess, people that are in your huddle, in your group. I've been with the same 3 girls in my huddle, and we got to connect deeper, and that was amazing. And we were very vulnerable to each other, and it just kind of grew us together, and it was really cool. The fellowship was great, and Ubi had some great lessons. Ubi is our speaker for all the lessons. The food was not so great.
Hi, my name's Jenna. I'm a freshman, and I'm going to Park Heritage High School this year. This is kind of my first year fully being there. Last year I got sick, so I only could go half way. So it was a really cool experience for me since I got to experience the full camp. I had really good people in my group. Usually last year I was singled out, so there was only me out of my school and my group, and then everyone else went to the same school. But I think that's also a great experience because I get to make new friends with other people that already know each other, but they include me in everything they do, so it's really cool. I would say as a freshman, going into high school, we had definitely deeper conversations. It was way cooler than being a middle school kid, I guess, because we really dove into growing in the gospel and everything like that, so that was cool. And then I just think it was fun. It was a great experience, and I just totally encourage everyone to go.
Hi, I'm Kobe. This is my 2nd year going. Last year was very impactful in my life. This year I grew in my faith and grew in my relationship with Christ. And Ubi was our speaker, and his lessons were very good this year. He taught me a lot about God's glory and our individual glory. I learned about hiding from God and our sins. My stepmom, Kennedy, gave that lesson to my group. She was our stepmom because during check-in, she had no campers, and we had our whole group. She's also auntie to some of the boys. Anyway, I learned about hiding from God, and I realized I was, so I prayed. And my favorite part was the moo-offs.
She said her favorite part was the moo-offs. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of a moo-off. Can I have Chris and Robert up here, please, while I explain what a moo-off is? So a moo-off is where you get on all fours like a cow. We'll just show you a little bit of the silliness of camp. You get on all fours out here, facing each other. They're going to take turns mooing at each other, and the first one to laugh, open mouth laugh. So if they're just laughing with their lips closed, that's fine. But if you make noise or if your mouth opens up, you lose. Yeah, you have to be on all fours. And Kobe's going to be the judge. So go ahead, down on all fours. We'll show you just a little glimpse of the fun camp. Whoever wants to start. They have to moo at least 3 times each before they can.
Hurt your eyes, look over somewhere.
I think we have a winner. Good job, Chris. Good job, Robert.
I was not coming into that prepared.
You weren't prepared.
I do have a question.
Okay. We just wanted to show you a little bit of the funny parts of camp, too. Thank you, guys. So my name's Jenica. I am a student at Indiana State, and so I was able to experience FCA Leadership Camp as a camper twice, but this year I got to go as a huddle leader, which is like camp counselor. So I was super, super excited. Camp completely changed my life when I was a camper. It really kind of set me on fire for the Lord. So I was very excited to go. Some of the things I was expectant of was just being able to lead girls and come alongside them in their walks with the Lord. It's leadership camp, so the gospel is presented, but it is a little bit more geared to those who already have a relationship with the Lord, and so how we can work on being a leader in our school. But again, the gospel's presented because not everybody there does have a relationship with the Lord. Some people walk in and have never stepped in church before. So I was just very expectant to be able to grow girls closer to the Lord in the same way that I was able to grow closer to the Lord. But instead, I was with a group of girls who shared a lot about their pasts. 3 of my 4 campers went into lots of detail about past abuse and trauma they'd experienced. And it kind of just flipped a switch on how I thought the week would go. I quickly realized that only 1 camper had even made a decision to follow Jesus, and the others were there just very naive and very young in their faith. So despite my experience being very different than what I expected, I was reminded of a couple things that I just kind of want to share. The first one is that organizations like FCA or other student ministries as well can have life-changing impact. So for example, these girls would have never come to camp and been able to spend 3 days surrounded by other believers, learning about God's glory. In our small groups, we were able to share specifically, like, what does it mean to be saved? What is your relationship with God? What does it look like right now? But these girls would have never been able to come to camp and experience that without God moving in FCA, and without them having FCA at their schools, they would have never been able to come to camp. So I was just reminded the importance of student ministries and just being a light in our schools. The second thing that I realized, I knew this, but I had to remind myself of it a lot this week, is just because we plant a seed does not mean that we'll always get to watch the flower grow. And so, to be honest, I was very discouraged because I felt like the girls just weren't getting it. Like, we'd have this amazing lesson from Ubi in our group time with the speaker. We'd go to our small group, and it wouldn't be anything about the thing we had just heard. It wouldn't be anything about the guided lesson we were supposed to go through. I was just like, guys, come on, like, we're at camp, let's focus. Like, you're not getting it. So I was very discouraged. I wanted so badly for their hearts to be changed, but I had to remind myself that I'm not big enough to change their hearts, but I know the one who can, and our job is to plant the seed, and I feel like I was able to do that this week as well. So one big blessing for me was that I had a co-leader. I wasn't the only huddle leader in my group. We actually had 2 of us, so 2 leaders for 4 girls. That was super nice because we were really able to pour into them. And she was super supportive and prayerful, and now I have a new friend and sister in Christ in my life, which was also a blessing. So that was kind of my experience with camp. For a long time, I wanted to just kind of share about FCA with the church because it has had such an impact on my life. So regionally, the big umbrella we are under is the West Central Indiana FCA. Here's a couple ways you can support our region that you may not even know about. Soon there's going to be a West Central Indiana golf scramble. It's in Terre Haute, and you could support that by sponsoring a hole, or you could play in the scramble if you like playing golf. There's Fields of Faith, which is where multiple schools come together, and there's a speaker and worship, etc. You can pray for that time. There's a website you can give financially, or even a Facebook page to watch for upcoming events. And most importantly, you can prayerfully support what's going on all over our surrounding counties. So why would it be important to support our regional FCA? We have a representative who visits and supports us. His name is Joe Summers. That's also how our high school and middle school FCAs get all their resources. So like there's bracelets that I'm wearing here. These help us share the gospel in 4 simple ways. And it also, the West Central Indiana provides Bibles for the local FCAs as well. So that's just a couple of ways that you can support in the big umbrella. But more specifically for where we are at, like I said, I'm a student at Indiana State. I've had the opportunity to be able to serve on the leadership team the past couple of years as the secretary. This upcoming year, my senior year, I will be the huddle coordinator is what it's called. I kind of just do a little bit of everything. But I just kind of wanted to share a little bit about how God is moving on my campus because it's so amazing. So at ISU, we serve over 300 of the 400 athletes and coaches. Over 70% of our core group serves in local churches. We had to move buildings last year because we outgrew the first building we were in. This past year, we had 36 commitments to Christ and 24 baptisms. We lead men's and women's small group Bible studies throughout the week. I could go on and on and on. Like, it's amazing. One of the biggest things, the coolest things, I think, is that we have been named the fastest growing chapter in the 70-year history of FCA. And that's like worldwide. We're the fastest growing chapter ever. We've only been a thing for less than 4 years. So God is working just in Terre Haute on ISU's campus. So a couple ways if you're interested in supporting that way. Of course, you can financially. We have snacks usually and cases of water for the college athletes that are always hungry and thirsty coming in after practices and meetings and stuff. And so if you'd be interested in providing a box of granola bars or cases of water or things like that, you can get with me. I can give you some more information about that. But most importantly, I'd ask you to pray because specifically for our group, we had a ton of leaders who just graduated. So we have a great new leadership group that's come up, but it will be different without those leaders there. And so I just ask that you pray for the continuation of growth at ISU FCA. And then lastly, I want to talk about the middle school and high school FCAs that are here in this county. So if you are involved in FCA at all, will you please stand up? Okay, so each and every one of these people want the Lord's presence in our schools. And yeah, you guys can sit down, that's fine. You may have noticed they all stood up and sat down very quickly. We have 3 adult sponsors, which those are the people who open up their classrooms and allow students to meet for FCA in their rooms. That's Claudia and Lainey and Melanie. Claudia's at Riverton, and they do junior high and high school together. Lainey's at the middle school at Park Heritage, and Melanie is at the high school. And so we should be supporting all of these people who stood up, right? These students, these teachers. Joe Summers, our West Central area director, this is a quote from him. He says that he truly believes that the biggest mission field in our country is in middle school, high school, and college campuses. And so I think I agree with him on that, and that we can be supporting that mission field. And we have some of the best missionaries here in our church. So how can we support middle school and high schoolers? Food. They love food. Most FCAs, I don't think I've ever heard of an FCA group that meets that doesn't have food. So some groups meet in the mornings before school, some groups meet during lunch, but a lot of times, even if it's not during a food time, they still bring pizza or something in because it draws kids in and it allows them to come into the room, and then they get to hear the word, and they get to be loved by those who are there. So if you'd be interested in buying donuts or buying pizza or buying sandwiches or, I don't know, something, chips, we'd love to get you plugged in to help with that. Even if you cannot buy them, but you could pick them up and deliver them to the schools, that would be helpful. And again, just prayerfully supporting them. We want these students to be bold and reflect the love and light of Jesus. So I know God has changed my life through FCA, and I'm expecting that he will use it to work in the lives of others too. If you're willing to support, I'm positive it would be appreciated in any capacity, like I said. So financially, but mostly prayerfully. Most importantly, I just ask you to pray for our schools, our students, our staff, and how God is going to use them through this next school year. And if you have any questions, because I kind of tried to make it short, but I still talked a while. If you have any questions, you can find me or anybody who's up here or anybody who stood up earlier. There's lots of people involved here. So we would love to get you plugged in, and I'd love to share more with you. So that's all. Oh, Robert has a question.
Yeah, so multiple years.
So I've been, 5 years now. I don't think I actually shared that at the beginning. And the first year I went, I was like it here at church. I was like it everywhere I went. I would keep it to myself. I didn't want to go share my faith. I wanted to keep it to myself. Oh yeah, I'm going to be saved. I'm going to go up to heaven, yada, yada. I didn't understand there was we hear the Great Commission. We hear love God, love others, make disciples. I didn't understand the make disciples part. I just thought, oh, okay, I'll let somebody else do it. And through my years at camp, I've grown and grown in it, and I understand you're not going to make disciples sitting at home on your couch enjoying the gospel to yourself by reading in a quiet time all on your own. Yes, you can pray for others. It's about going out and making a difference. This year, our back of our church say glory, giving everything to God and not keeping it for ourselves. That really hit me this year because in my sports, in my life, I like to take the glory for myself when I really should be giving it all to God. So understanding that change in myself, understanding how I can change that in others. I went from someone who would be so scared and not wanting to talk up on the stage and just coming up here and saying, oh yeah, camp was good, and handing off the microphone, which my mom told me I couldn't do. But to being able to come up here and share how it's changed me and how it can help change others. So in my 5 years at camp, I've understood how to go out and make disciples of all nations.
So this year specifically, they had all of the schools in your area. We sat together for one of the breakfasts, because normally you sit with your group, obviously. But then we just had like a discussion of what we would change in our specific groups and in our schools. And they had these binders, which they had a very creative name for, actually. It was called the binder. And so it had like a bunch of information about how to start an FCA, how to maintain them. It had different like examples of like different lessons that you could teach in the back. It had like how to pour into different leaders and how to make sure that the FCA doesn't just like, when you have that group that has been doing everything since their freshman year or middle school year, and they've kind of been the FCA leaders their entire school career, and then they graduate, then what happens after that? And so how to lift up younger people to do that for more young people.
FCA prepared us. They gave us a bunch of resources, like the binder, but they also gave us these bracelets. They're called the core, and it basically is symbols that show you the gospel. The core. Anyway, basically the heart stands for Jesus loves you, God loves you, and then the division symbol says sin separates you. The cross is that Jesus died for you, and then the question mark is what you're going to do about it. So they gave us simple ways to quickly share the gospel, easy conversation starter.
I would say with my 2 years of just being in FCA camp, I've been an FCA leader for 3 years. In 6th grade, I was very shy, and I didn't want to speak, and I just wanted to keep everything to myself. I didn't even want to go up or pray, or I didn't even want them to see me up there because I was so scared that people would judge me. But I think that FCA has grown me in so many ways, and that over the years I have wanted to speak or volunteered to pray because God leads people in amazing ways. And I think FCA has really taught me that I shouldn't be scared or I shouldn't act like everyone's judging me because they're not, and I shouldn't act like and I shouldn't think that they're judging me because they're not. And I think that my aunt, Mrs. McCory, was trying to help me like see that the whole time, that you just need to stand up there and speak. No one's judging you. And I think that really taught me, like this camp taught me, just speak and no one's going to judge you.
So I went to camp for 2 years. This is my second. And during my 6th grade year, I was a leader, and I did not want to pray or anything. But this year, I'm really hoping to try and help lead some lessons.
I think every single one of these campers who went this year shared with me at some point throughout the week that they really felt led to step up on their leadership teams or step up more in their leadership roles that they already have. So that's super awesome. I have grown in confidence. I've grown in my faith personally, but I've grown a lot in confidence in being able to share with others. I've also grown a lot in even basic leadership skills like organizing and planning and how to invite people and get them there and lots of things. So yes, they kind of took a lot of them. But yeah. Next is David, I think, right?
Thank you. If you guys don't know me, my name is David. I just graduated would have been 13 weeks ago now. And I've spent the last 13 weeks at a camp about an hour from here as a RA and rec leader. So I was actually working there before I even graduated high school. The scheduling was crazy. So I spent the last 12 weeks there. This is week 13. And the entire camp is run by 28 people. 13 of us only work there for a couple weeks during the summer. And so we've had 17 different camps come through from all over the United States. I've had kids and adults from Utah, Florida, Rockville, if we've heard of that. We had people from Chicago, from Lafayette, everywhere. They were traveling from all over, and I honestly wasn't expecting it. But we had 2,840 kids register for camp. And that is the most that has ever shown up to our camps, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. We're actually running out of room. It's a good problem. It's the best problem to have, I would say. But we had 83 expressions of faith. Some of them we baptize at camp. Some of them go back to their churches. It was just amazing to see. So I got to run our extreme activities. That was my favorite part of the job. We have this huge zip line. We have a rock wall. We got to go rappelling down cliffs. We had a 60-foot giant swing. That was fun. That was my favorite. But at the end of the day, I stayed in dorms with all of my campers. I could have 36 kids at one point in my dorm. And every single night before we went to bed, our lights off, it was usually midnight. So sleep is for the weak, I guess. So I would do a devotional. And my favorite thing to do the first night is I would tell everybody, all right, 12 o'clock, I'm going to turn off the lights and we're going to go to bed. And then at 11:55, I would turn off the lights. And I would get my flashlight and I would get my Bible. And I would say, and then they'd be getting their flashlights and they're going, oh, what's going on, what's going on? I thought we had 5 minutes. And I'd start my devotional. And I would talk about how the Bible is our flashlight in life, right? If we're reading it, if we're following its commands, then it's going to be the flashlight that shows us the path that we're supposed to follow. And then I'd follow it up with John 8:12, where he says, I'm the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. And I love doing that. That was my favorite. I think I did that for about 4 different camps, probably. It was really good for the younger kids. Just a couple of fun statistics. I caught 1,800 kids on the zip line. I lifeguarded 39 pool parties. For our food, okay, these numbers are crazy. We served 3,563 hamburgers, 3,100 slices of pizza, 7,000 bowls of lettuce, 151 gallons of apple juice. And that's in the little cups that you get at school. So that's probably 50 of those is a gallon. So I can't even imagine how many of those we went through. We served 8,000 slices of bacon, 10,000 mini corn dogs, 68 gallons of ranch dressing. 68 gallons, right? And my favorite, 7,000 chocolate chip cookies. I would like to say that I probably ate about 1,000 of those, but, we'll see about that. So for me, I expected it to be just a job. I showed up, I'd get my money. I'd be with the kids. I love being with kids. I love VBS. But it became more for me. The fact that I got to be there for these kids that don't have anything, that they get to go away from all the problems in their life and see God through others. And I love it. And if you're graduating high school, come see me. I have a job opportunity for you next year. See where you and I don't know where Carson went. It's the most amazing job I've ever had. And it's fulfilling because you get to fill your cup up every week with a new group of students. That's all I have. Robert, do you want junior church dismissed? Junior church, you are dismissed.
All right, Matt, I don't think we're going to make it, but we're going to be close. I'm going to be very quick. So I hope that you are very encouraged to see so many people over the past few weeks between VBS and Infusion and this week, so many young people who are following their calling to do these things that are out of their comfort zone, that are a part of mission and ministry. These aren't easy things for any of these kids to sign up and do. And sometimes, like David said, you sign up for this thing and then you realize you've gotten yourself into this deeper thing than you thought. And so I really hope that that is something that you hear that this morning and you're encouraged and your heart is full, seeing how much our church so clearly cares about young people doing missions, doing ministry, because that's awesome. And not to dump cold water on all of that good feeling, I also want to challenge you a little bit, because one of the things that I think is very easy for us is to relish and celebrate others following that call and kind of push that to the back for ourselves. And it's harder and harder the farther you get into life to make time to do some of these things. It's not easy. And we don't have a ton of just spare time to do some of the things that you can look at a middle school and go, it's easy for you to take a week and go to FCA camp. That's no big deal. But I kind of woke up last week sometime about 4:30 in the morning with just this clear idea in my head of and I don't know the version of it. It's just lodged in my brain. I believe it's Proverbs 22, and you'll know it when I start saying it, but it's to train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's older, he will not depart from it. I don't know what translation that is. It's not CSB. I looked it up. That one's way less good, to use the proper grammar there. But we believe that, and this church lives that, right? We believe in pouring into our kids and raising them such that they will know God and follow in those steps. And I had that verse, but I also had another one. And so I wanted to read Matthew 19. And I'm going to read it quick. I know we don't have a lot of time, and I'm not going to go very long. But starting in verse 16, just then someone came up and asked him, "Teacher, what good must I do to have eternal life?" Why do you ask me about what is good?" He said to him. "There's only one who is good. If you want to enter into life, keep the commandments." "Which ones?" he asked him. Jesus answered, "Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness, honor your father and mother, and love your neighbor as yourself." "I've kept all these," the young man told him. "What do I still lack?" "If you want to be perfect," Jesus said to him, "go, sell your belongings and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me." When the young man heard that, he went away grieving because he had many possessions. As I was thinking through this, I was thinking, there's a saying that actions speak louder than words. And I think we have to be really careful that our actions aren't speaking the message that ministry and missions and engagement and involvement is for young people, because that's not true. We clearly demonstrate that, right? We are willing to support financially and physically and in every way through prayer and through time the education and the development and the ministry of our young people. But it's a little bit more when we're asked to give up and sacrifice our time and our energy and our effort to pour into ministries and missions ourselves, because we have a lot of things on our table. And I thought of this story because we have this rich young ruler who he comes to Jesus with the idea that he is asking this question for the right reason. He wants to know and he wants to do what's right. And as soon as Jesus tells him what it's going to cost, he's heartbroken because he knows he's not willing to give that up. And so I want to challenge you, if that's you today, if there's some things, if what it is time, if what it is things you enjoy and are committed to that you aren't willing to set aside to do the thing that God is calling you to do, I really want you to wrestle with that, because that's a difficulty of what it means to be a Christian adult, right? We have a lot of commitments. All of us are busy. And so it's really difficult. But my challenge to you is, who will you serve? Are you seeking God's call on your life? And when you hear it, will you go away sad because of what it would cost you? Or will you meet that call? And so as we go and prepare for a time of communion, let that be on your heart. And let that be your prayer. God, what are you calling me to, and how am I going to respond? Would you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for the young people in this church who are answering your call. I feel so blessed to know them, to have watched them grow and develop and take on challenges that are uncomfortable, and to just be willing to know that you've got them. That in the midst of the things that make them nervous, in the midst of the things that are a challenge to them, that you're there. Thank you for who you are. I thank you that you love us, and I pray that you would use that demonstration of obedience to the call to just ripple through our church, that we would be a church that is just fired up to reach the lost in this community. God, we're equipped to do it, and we know that you can change hearts, and I pray that you let us, through obedience to you, be a part of that we get to see that we get to watch lives transformed because of you. And I just thank you for who you are. I pray all of these things in your name. Amen.